Michael Jackson.
There are very few names in music history that carry as much weight as Michael Jackson.
I don't think people understand how big Michael Jackson was.
Because even years after his death, his voice, his dance moves, and his presence still feel larger than life. But at the same time, his story is not as simple as that of a once-in-a-generation pop star. For some people, MJ is the greatest entertainer who ever lived. For others, he is a deeply complicated and controversial figure. So was Michael Jackson a hero, a villain, or something far more complex in between? Let's find out. Michael Jackson was born in Gary, Indiana, on August the 29th, 1958. He was the 8th of 10 children in a working-class family, which heavily relied on music as a possible way out of financial struggle and into a better life. Michael was the most talented musician out of his siblings, and that was both a blessing and a curse. At a young age, Michael joined his older brothers in the Jackson 5 band, and from the very moment he stepped on stage, it was clear he was different from an average kid doing music. In fact, MJ's voice, timing, and his stage presence stood out even among adults. But those gifted talents cost him his childhood.
Lonely, sad, having to face with popularity and all of that. There were times when I had great times with my brothers, pillow fights and things, but I used to always cry from loneliness.
While other kids were growing up normally, he was rehearsing, touring, and performing on a strict schedule, with many accounts describing intense pressure from his father to perfect every detail of his performance.
Some may call it a strict disciplinarian or whatever, but he was very strict, very hard, very stern. And just a look would scare you, and...
Were you scared of him?
Very frightened.
Mistakes weren't treated lightly by Michael's father. They often came with repercussions and were corrected immediately. As Michael grew older, he stepped away from the Jackson 5 and began his solo career, and that's when he started to feel himself a lot more. Jackson's first solo album, Off the Wall in 1979, showed the world that he was no longer just a former child star, but a seriously gifted artist stepping into his own as a global solo performer, rising faster than most people expected and breaking through at a time when Black artists still faced major barriers to mainstream recognition and prime-time exposure.
Music business isn't exactly going gangbusters, and yet you continue to sell records so well.
Every time I get a platinum album, it's never taken lightly on my behalf. I'm always honored, and it's great thanks. I'm very happy that the public enjoy what I do, and I'll continue to put my heart into my work.
The best was yet to come. In 1982, Michael Jackson released Thriller and changed the music industry forever, as the album didn't just become a massive commercial success, but went on to become the best-selling album of all time. His songs like Billie Jean, Beat It, and Thriller weren't just dominating the charts, but turning into full cultural events that reshaped how the world looked at music, performance, and even music videos themselves. Michael didn't just release songs. He created mini-movies with his dance style, especially the moonwalk that turned him into a global icon. He was massive in the United States, but his fame stretched far beyond its borders, and across oceans he became even bigger, reaching people who didn't even follow music closely, yet still knew exactly who he was, what he looked like, and the kind of magic he brought to the stage. By the mid-1980s, Michael Jackson wasn't just famous. He was the most famous person on the planet, and many called him the undisputed king of pop. But why did he become so big when Hollywood was packed with other legendary artists? The answer is simple. Nobody could perform like Michael Jackson. He performed in front of massive crowds, broke records, and influenced artists across every genre. His performances were theatrical, emotional, and perfectly choreographed, and no one at the time could match his stage presence. But there was a catch. With great powers came greater troubles. As Michael became more popular, his life became more and more isolated. He wasn't just a celebrity anymore, but a global symbol, and he was finding it increasingly hard to live with that pressure. Around this time, people also began noticing changes in his appearance. His skin tone lightened, facial structure changed, and his overall look started to look nothing like that of the pop star everyone loved. That became a major topic in the media, with constant speculation and rumors.
They weren't capable of being polite to the man until he passed on. And now everybody's so nice. I'm not singling you out. I'm saying a lot of the general public just didn't treat him well. And now he's gone. Now it's like, of course, everyone's always supported him. But I just wish it would have been like this the whole time.
Some believed his transformation meant he wanted to be white and reject his race.
I'm a Black American. I'm proud to be a Black American. I am proud of my race. I am proud of who I am. I have a lot of pride in who I am and dignity.
While this was a conspiracy theory that spread around the world, Jackson's change in appearance was far more complicated than a single cause. So what was the reason? When Jackson was accused of bleaching his skin to become white, he adamantly denied the accusations, explaining that vitiligo caused his skin pigmentation to fade.
I have a skin disorder that destroys the pigmentation of the skin. It's something that I cannot help.
He also expressed that media stories suggesting he didn't want to be Black were hurtful and false. The media wasn't ready to buy Jackson's side of the story, and with gossip surrounding his appearance spreading like wildfire, Jackson decided to create his own little world and disappear from the public eye. But even that caused problems. In the late 1980s and 1990s, Michael's life became more unusual when he built Neverland Ranch, a massive property filled with rides, animals, and entertainment spaces. To Jackson, it was a place of joy and escape, but his critics made it a symbol of how separated he was from normal life. During this time, he also became more private. He rarely did interviews, and when he did appear, he often seemed shy, soft-spoken, and uncomfortable under constant attention. In 1993, Michael Jackson became entangled in one of the most high-profile controversies of his career when the parents of 13-year-old Jordan Chandler accused him of sexual abuse, triggering a case that would instantly dominate global headlines and change the public conversation around him.
But Jordan Chandler his son knew that it wasn't true. So he came to Michael and told him, Michael, I'm sorry what's going on. I know it's not true. So Michael told him, why don't you go and get on in the news and tell them so people wouldn't think this terrible thing about me. But he said, I can't do that. If I did that, my father would kill me.
Soon, more people joined in, accusing MJ of committing horrendous crimes. And the Neverland Ranch, the little world that Jackson built to live a peaceful life, was cited as the site where these alleged crimes took place. Michael denied the accusations. He said he was innocent and that he was being targeted because of his fame and wealth, but he still had to deal with lengthy legal battles. In 2005, he stood trial in California and was acquitted of all criminal charges. But even after the verdict, not everyone was ready to believe him, especially when in the same year, another alleged victim came forward.
The information is disgusting and false. Years ago, I allowed a family to visit and spend some time at Neverland. Neverland is my home. I allowed this family into my home because they told me their son was ill with cancer and needed my help. Through the years, I have helped thousands of children who are ill or in distress. These events have caused a nightmare for my family, my children, and me. I never intend to place myself in so vulnerable a position ever again. I love my community, and I have great faith in our justice system.
Michael's music career and other projects were badly hampered by the controversy, but he still had millions of believers who were desperate for a grand comeback, and it almost happened. In the late 2000s, Michael Jackson attempted a major comeback. He announced the This Is It concert series in London, which was supposed to mark his return to the stage. Fans around the world were excited because it felt like a second chance for the king of pop to reclaim his place in music. But behind the scenes, reports suggested he was struggling physically and mentally with the pressure of preparing for such a massive return. On June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson died at the age of 50 due to cardiac arrest caused by a drug overdose. His death shocked the world. Millions of fans mourned, and his music surged again across charts globally. The planned comeback never happened, but his influence became even more visible after his death. So, where does that leave Michael Jackson? If you look at his achievements alone, he was a hero of music. He broke racial barriers on MTV, changed music videos forever, and inspired generations of artists. His performances are still studied today. His songs are still played everywhere. But if you look at his controversies, his life was surrounded by allegations, media pressure, and constant public scrutiny that shaped how people saw him. The truth is, Michael Jackson cannot be placed into a simple category. He was not just a hero, and he cannot be reduced to a villain either. He was a human being who lived under extreme fame, extreme pressure, and extreme attention from the entire world. And maybe that is what makes his story so powerful and so tragic. Michael Jackson's life is one of the most fascinating stories in entertainment history. It has success, pain, genius, controversy, and mystery all mixed together. Even today, people continue to debate who he really was. But one thing is impossible to deny. His impact on music, dance, and culture will never disappear. He'll forever be the king of pop. What do you guys think? Is Michael Jackson a hero or a villain? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications for more stories on your favorite celebrities.